Hey, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Chastity. Here we talk about beauty, entertainment, celebrities, books, movies, anime, TV shows, and kind of anything else that garners my attention this week. And before we get into the video, I am on the Ego Pyramid podcast. There, I talked about my channel, its growth, how I got my name, as well as the moral dilemma of like creating content I know will get clicks, it will get views, versus creating content that I personally do enjoy and care about, and know that those are not going to get as much engagement, but I still love those videos. As well, we did like a bonus episode where I got to like go off on a huge tangent about hippos, their PR, and how dangerous they are. So if you want to check that out, link to the description below. Also, I had promoted his podcast like a while ago, and he just recently told me that some of you guys actually did go to the podcast, check it out, and like comment. And I really do appreciate you guys for doing that. Like, that warms my heart that you guys would go and support my friend, because my friends support me. My friends are the reason why this channel is still going. Like, they push me. So I really do appreciate being able to like give back to them and for y'all to like be engaged with it. So again, if you want to hear me ramble in podcast form, link in the description box below. And today, we're going to be talking about the evolution of true crime YouTube. True crime is something I've always had an interest in. It's gone on to the point that now, like, I've majored in, like, criminology. So it's definitely a field of, like, importance to me, a field of interest of mine. And so, like, and a big part of, like, that growing of interest comes from true crime YouTube. So this is, like, a community that I've watched grow and change over time. And I've just, like, looking at it today and seeing how far the community has come and how vastly different it looks is very interesting to me, as well as like the point of morality that seems to also be lacking in the true crime community. Now, true crime YouTube in the late 2000s looks completely different than true crime YouTube in 2021. I feel like in the beginning of true crime YouTube, it more or less mirrored its television predecessor. It was very much so more professional in the sense that everything was done in more of like a documentary style. These YouTube channels were kind of just faceless people talking about true crime. There wasn't really anybody in front of the camera. It was all narration. It felt more like how it felt on TV, as well as some of the true crime content was just ripped from television and put on the platform. But that's a different story. But the people who were making the content themselves was, again, it was very faceless. We really didn't have people to interact with in the early days of true crime YouTube. But with the rise of like true crime YouTube, we got like citizen sleuths, who are basically people who've actually helped solve a lot of like, unsolved mysteries, through, communities on YouTube, blog pages, as well, like Reddit forums and stuff like that. People combing through hours of evidence and like working together to help piece together what could have possibly happened. So that was a really cool thing that happened in the early days of true crime YouTube and true crime on social media, period. If we're going to talk about true crime YouTube, we have to talk about one of the biggest pioneer of, I guess, this genre of YouTube, and that is Rob Dyke. Rob Dyke started his channel in September of 2012, but he didn't start off doing true crime YouTube like a lot of YouTubers. It does take a while to kind of find your niche, and while doing research for this, was looking at his old videos. There were a lot of like top 10s, so like lists and stuff like that, as well as like sketches, because the early stages of YouTube sketches were really cool and important, as well as he has like thumbnails that are very old YouTube, where there's like half naked women in the thumbnails. There was a point in time where like that is how you got clicks on YouTube, was putting half naked women in your thumbnails. Now you'll get demonetized for that, but back in those days, if you want clicks and engagement, half naked woman in your thumbnails. I can't really like pinpoint like the type of content he made in his early YouTube days, because they were kind of all over the place. Again, he was just trying things and trying to see what would fit. It would seem like for the first like year of his channel, he was definitely trying to figure out what was going to be his niche, which again, that's how a lot of YouTubers are. You're trying to figure out what you want to do. But in 2013 is when he hit gold, and that's when he started his Seriously Strange series. Seriously Strange is just videos that are about eerie and bizarre things. That first video is now sitting over 1 million views. It would then take him a couple more videos to do his second Seriously Strange video that is now sitting at 2.5 million views. And then the numbers for his Seriously Strange content would continue to go up. And I feel like once Rob realized after those first like 3 views, because the third video has over like 4 million views, I think he realized, oh, I think I'm onto something with this true crime content. Now, when Rob started this content, I think he was one of the first people who like was actually sitting in front of the camera and talking about these situations and giving details about the crime. And that was the first time we really had like a face, like an actual face for the true crime community. And then his videos were also pretty well, I would say, produced. Again, for someone who was just starting out in their second year of YouTube, it definitely looked not as polished as like the documentaries, but very polished for a YouTuber. And I feel like that's definitely was different, because usually people who were doing true crime content, they were using like their crappy cameras and they were just like poor lighting, just kind of like talking about it. But he definitely had a more professional feel, which again is very symbolic to traditional true crime content. But we got to really see him, and it was well produced. So you have Rob here seeing how well his Seriously Strange content is doing. And he realized, I've done something here. This is something I can tap into to get the views, to get the engagement. And he will then go on to make multiple different true crime series on his channel. The first series, as I said before, is Seriously Strange, which is videos about eerie and disturbing things. A subset of Seriously Strange is Twisted Tens, which is a top 10 countdown of twisted things happening in the world. The next series on his channel, Serial Killer Files, which is a deep dive into the minds of serial killers. And then the last true crime series on his channel is The Anatomy of Murder, where he goes into very well thought out detail about a lot of popular and unknown true crime cases. Rob Dyke is definitely the godfather of true crime YouTube, at least in how we see it today, with having a face to go with the channel. He's definitely laid out a lot of the groundwork, and his well-produced videos have garnered him a very good following of subscribers and amazing views and things like that. But even with Rob's success, true crime YouTube was still extremely niche until a little YouTube series called BuzzFeed Unsolved hit the scenes in 2016. Now, while in Rob's videos he was pretty like chill and subdued, Ryan and Shane are pure chaotic. And I feel like that's what the true crime community was missing at the time, was big personalities. Because people started getting into true crime not even just to hear about the crimes themselves, but to engage with Shane and Ryan. They were just so engaging, so personable, so fun. It went from you were going to hear about true crime and turned into you here because you're Bugara or you were Shaniac or whatever. Like, you were just there to stand these two people. And that's definitely, I feel like, changed the complete landscape of true crime YouTube. Because again, true crime YouTube was very just fact-based. You were just regurgitating facts about these crimes and not giving much of anything. But Shane and Ryan became stars, not just for the crimes that they were retelling, but because people just loved them and enjoyed them. And I do feel like that plays a role in what true crime YouTube looks today, because now you're going to these true crime YouTubers not really, well, in part to hear about the crimes, but also because you just like them as people, which wasn't the case in the beginning. You were going to just learn new things about crimes and serial killers and etc. But now it's like, this is my favorite YouTuber. I love this person. Not just this is my favorite channel, but I really love you as a person now. Now, there is another section of true crime YouTube that I'm very confused about, and that is the beauty guru to true crime like commentator pipeline, I would it's I don't really understand like what made a lot of beauty gurus go from beauty content to true crime. I don't really know the correlation like at all, but I do know like in part is because the beauty community is so oversaturated. You just can't sit in front of a camera and do a beat and like expect to do numbers. Like that's not going to happen anymore. So the beauty YouTubers that really didn't get big and successful, or the ones that did get big and successful but couldn't pivot, started doing makeup while doing other things. If you notice, a lot of like the big female like true crime YouTubers, if you go on their channels and click oldest videos, almost always the first content is beauty related. And it's just such, I don't understand the pivot. I really don't. Now, I do know some people did the pivot because it was the thing to do, but I don't understand how the first girls got into doing it. You know what I mean? Like the first girls that did it, I don't really understand how you went from doing my makeup to talking about like crime. I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain while trying to write this outline, trying to figure out how we got here, and I simply don't know how. When I come up with something, I will come back to this channel and do an update, but until then, I'm confused. But it's interesting going from these big YouTubers now for true crime and seeing their older videos being all makeup related. Again, the makeup community got super, super big, like 2015-ish, and then exploded in 2016. And then by like 2018, the beauty community kind of like it fizzled out. So if you weren't like a Jackie Aina, you weren't a Jebediah Scuttlefish, a Jaclyn Hill, you know, Manny and all them. If you weren't them, you were not going to get views just by doing your makeup. So like the smaller girls had to pivot, and then the girls with no personality had to pivot. 'Cause that was another thing. The beauty community kind of like the curtain got pulled back, and we realized how nasty a lot of these beauty like YouTubers actually were behind the scenes. We found out about affiliate codes and working with Morphe, and it all fell apart, right? And so like the girls who were always real and always honest, they were able to continue making beauty content and move forward. But the girls who either were lying the whole time, lying about makeup, lying about affiliate codes, lying about having their personal lives, they couldn't really pivot with the being real thing and being honest, because we had already known they was liars. They were habitual liars. And so they had to do makeup and something else. There was like that period of time people were doing makeup and doing like story times. That fizzled out. And then it turned into like they were doing their makeup and becoming commentary channels, the channels they hated most. Or they did true crime. Again, I don't know how we got here, but we got here. Now I think it's important for us to talk about the morality around the true crime genre. What actually inspired this video is an article I read that I will link in the description box below about a true crime podcast called Hold Still Vincent, a dramatization of the 1982 murder of Vincent Chin. The podcast ended up getting pulled because of criticism from the Chin family, because no one asked them for their consent before they hired a bunch of actors to do a dramatized recreation of one of their loved ones' murder. And after reading this article, it made me reevaluate the ethics surrounding the true crime genre. The true crime genre has always been criticized for being disrespectful to victims and their families. The biggest issue with the true crime genre is the fact that the families don't need to give consent for books, podcasts, YouTube videos, documentaries, TV shows, etc. to be made about their loved ones. And because it seems like the genre does not care about the family and they just go on to make money, no one is thinking about how this re-traumatizes the loved ones of these victims. Because at least with a lot of documentaries, we do actually see the like family of the victims in them. again, not all, but like at least the ones that I like to consume, I would rather have the loved ones be in the documentary than just a bunch of like lawyers and like police officers talking about it. But then like when you're thinking about YouTube and like podcasters, are they asking the consent of these families before they make this content? Because like when you think about it, I can't imagine how a lot of these victims' relatives feel like seeing someone so casually do their makeup while talking about their relative's vicious murder, doing a double cut crease while they are detailing very horrific and real details to people who have to be re-traumatized to this. Imagine like getting on YouTube and seeing on the trending pages your loved one's murder being retold by someone who didn't ask your permission at all. This also reminds me of this. I don't know if they still make this type of content, but there was this YouTube like art channel that pivoted towards true crime, and they would basically like as they're retelling the situation, they were drawing it all out, and a victim's like relative actually ends up finding his video, and they see the gruesome murder of their loved one being drawn out for hundreds of thousands of people to see. And that was horrible. And I feel like that was the first time that like the morality of the true crime like section of YouTube is ever brought into question. And I feel like we need to question it more. And I really do feel like when we are talking about more recent crimes, like from like the 50s downward, that relatives should be contacted for these videos, should be giving their okay on whether or not they're fine with you making these types of videos, because I feel like people don't understand like the reach their videos have, and like these people's loved ones are still very much so alive, right? And I just couldn't imagine like again getting on YouTube and seeing someone making money off of my loved one's death after I've suffered so much and I've gone through so much. You couldn't even give me the courtesy of asking my permission before you talked about something so gruesome and so private and so traumatizing. It's definitely like this whole situation of like reading all of this and really sitting with myself has made me feel icky towards the true crime community, because these family members are seeing their loved ones' deaths just being paraded through YouTube and through like the podcast world, and again not even being asked. You know, I do feel like it's different when you speak to the family and you get their blessing and dues, or you get them to actually talk about it, versus you just making the content because you want to. And it is definitely like through this research like made me kind of not want to be a part of true crime YouTube the way I was, because the morality of it all feels weird. It doesn't feel good, especially when I see how big these videos get, and again they end up on the YouTube trending page, and it's like there's no way that these people's loved ones are not seeing this stuff. Again, for the more recent crimes, the more recent ones, I don't it feels wrong to like watch this content now when you think about the fact that families don't have to be brought into the fold. And so with not giving their permission could at any point in time be re-traumatized. I don't know, because like I've always liked like Bailey Sarian. I don't think she has like horrible intentions with her channel, but it's also like the families. These are real people, and I feel like that's another drawback with true crime YouTube is you're turning real life people into stories. It's not recounting a crime. Because depending on, because again, watching someone do their makeup, I feel like takes away the severeness of the situation. You know, I have a lot of mixed feelings. I'll probably tweet about them later. Like when this video comes out, I might tweet about them and just like get my thoughts out, because I feel a lot of things about this, and not all of them are good, but then I'm also aware not all of these YouTubers are bad people, like, especially the ones that started doing this very early. Because, like, again, like I said, Bailey Sarian, she seems to really love this, and she seems to be really interested in this, and she does a lot of research. But at the same time, victims' families have come out so many occasions from different podcasts and videos about how much they don't like it. And it's like, I can't be like, the victim's family have no right to feel this way. They have no entitlement to their loved one's murder. Like, no matter how respectful you can be, are you really respectful if you don't reach out to the family? Like, are you really? I'm very conflicted. I don't really know if I will be consuming true crime YouTube anymore. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it's just for me and like my morals, I don't know if I can still, like, with good conscience, do. But yeah, that's it. That was just my little, like, deep dive into true crime YouTube. Again, true crime is something that I've been ingesting since I was very young. That's why I majored in criminology and wanting to understand the human mind and what makes someone want to do these things. And I'm now dealing with the morality of, is the YouTube content I've consumed over the years right? Especially hearing from loved ones. It's a lot. It's very conflicting. I will be fighting myself on this for like the next couple weeks. But what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on true crime YouTube? Were you here from the beginning? Are you here for the beauty guru to true crime commentator pivot? What are your thoughts and feelings on the morality around true crime content? Are we trivializing people's deaths by doing our makeup while talking about it? Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the description box below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.